We're back at the sewing machine. Now what we're doing is we're going to figure out how do we get that seam right down the middle of the burp cloth. All right, notice on my machine, I call these landmarks. Look at all the landmarks on my machine. Here's one, here's one, here's one. There's one. You know, this is a landmark, this is a landmark, this is a landmark, this is a landmark. You know, there's all sorts of landmarks that don't have anything to do with this little grid that has measurements on it. I use those landmarks. Now, it's just a happy circumstance for me that this landmark gets me approximately to the middle. And you know what? It's middle enough for me. We're not being graded on this. We're not putting this project in the state fair. So we're going to find a spot that we're happy with. On your sewing machine, it might be a little different. Or if you want to measure half, look at that. So that's about how far off it is, 1/4 inch. But if you'd like to measure half the distance from side to side on this, and then just put a little sticky note like this over there. And once you've got that sticky note, you can just follow along the side of it. All right, so here's how we do it. I started in the middle and I back up to the edge. The reason for that is what? Does anybody remember why I do that? I never start on the edge. That's because of the tails, right? I'm going to be able to clip them off with no worries. They won't be sticking out on the edge. So I'm just working, and you see how over here I'm following that? And I'm actually using the pad of my finger as a fence. And so I can go pretty fast because I'm doing that. Now when I get here, I'm going to do the backup. And I'm going to end in the middle somewhere, away from the edge. So my tails are not flopping around out here. Now, how did I get those 2 parallel lines on the other bib? You remember how I had a line over here and a line over there, so that I didn't want just one lonely line down the middle. It really didn't look balanced. So here's what I did. Post-it note, folded it in half because it was way too wide. I didn't want my lines that far apart. Then I parked the foot right on top of it. And you want to make sure that the sticky side is up on the post-it note and that it's not getting into the space where the needle is going to poke it. Okay, so I've used mine quite a few times. We'll see how it cooperates at this point. Now what I'm doing, this seam that I just did a minute ago is going to be following the edge of this. I'm not going to be looking at my needle. There's no benefit in my eyes watching that needle. So I'm watching right here. This is where my eye is right now. Right here. If you are fortunate enough to have the accessory that does this for you, then you can use that. I bought this machine from an estate sale, so I've got the accessories that were able to be located by the family, so that one is missing. But you know what? Look, it's really not a big problem, is it? This sticky note is perfect. It's actually giving me, if you consider, I've got this much area to line up, so I'm not struggling quite so much with one point of contact. So, I don't know. I would probably try the accessory foot if I had it. And in all truth, I did try 3 accessory pieces, but they are obviously for other sewing machines in my house and not this one. Probably my vintage machines. So now I'm going to trim these strings off right at the edge of the fabric. I don't need to worry about weaving them in, just get them as close to the fabric as I can. And remember how I backstitched? That is why I can do this with confidence. These are going to come out of the laundry with no problem. And there you have it. My 3 rows of stitching, just perfect. All it took was a little piece of paper.